Hey, just a little background. I had a terrific conversation with a gentleman. We are both members of a group on Facebook of O-scale modelers, but particularly we model the New York City Transit or New York City Transit Authority subway models. And those models were only made by MTH in both HO and on a large scale, both HO and O scale. And they made some really nice models. The only gripe that many of us had with the models are the fact that on the O scale models, they use these ridiculous looking, huge knuckle couplers that created a distance between the cars that is totally unprototypical. They look silly. And even in their HO scale models, they're using, I don't think they're using KD couplers, but they're using a coupler that has the air hose coming off of it, which not one New York City subway set or train rather has that type of a coupler. So I like to snip those off because it looks silly. But in any event, we were talking about couplers, and I mentioned to him this particular set or this particular brand, Bachmann, as we would say here in the United States. In England, they would pronounce it Bachmann. So I believe that to be the proper or correct pronunciation for it. In any event, this is Bachmann UK/Europe, and this is the London Underground. I discovered double O scale in 2015. When I returned to the hobby in 2011, it was only because someone was making New York City subway trains, and I wanted that since I was 7 years old when I was in N scale. So when I returned to the hobby at 53 years old in 2011, only because Walthers/Proto or Lifelike, under their Proto 1000 marketing name, they offered New York City HO scale New York City subway trains. So that brought me back to the hobby. And I've always admired the London Underground. I mean, I like subways from anywhere, but I really like the Underground. And there's a channel on YouTube called Calling All Stations. The gentleman, the host, or the YouTuber for that channel, his name is Andy. And he had let me know, I credit him fully. He's the one that let me know that Bachmann was offering the London Underground model sets via the London Transport Museum only. So I have this terrific, wonderful young man in my life, my son, and he was kind enough to surprise me in 2015 with this set. I wish I had I wish I'd gotten off my rear end and just purchased 4 more cars so I can have an 8 car set. Now it's too late. It's not available. Those extra cars, the whole set's not available any longer. But I'm happy for the 4 cars that I do have of the London Underground. And one of the things that impressed me, one of many things that impressed me about this model, first of all, this introduced me to double O scale. I like double O scale a million times better than I do HO. I like HO, but double O scale is the perfect size. It's not really small like HO. It's a really good size, and plus it runs on HO track, which is what my home temporary layout here is. It's HO. So it runs on HO track. And one of the things that impressed me, one of many things that impressed me about this set, first of all, the British have the good sense to include directional lighting. See that? Whereas MTH never included that. They only included it when they started their HO subway sets, New York City Transit Authority subway sets. They included directional lighting, but it was on the wrong car. It was on the power car. Absolutely useless. It was like having breasts on a bull, right? Absolutely useless. Idiotic. They were too cheap to do what my tech, who is British, did with my Walthers HO sets. He put an extra decoder in a trailing car, installed LED lights for headlights and taillights, and whenever I changed the direction, if I were running point to point or end to end with any of those sets, the lights change accordingly, like this. Okay? That's on my Walthers, which was formerly Lifelike, now Walthers Proto 1000 subway sets, HO. In any event, he installed that. It cost an extra $25 for the decoder to do that. MTH easily could have done that. But they were cheap. Cheap and arrogant. They wouldn't listen to anyone, I don't believe, that worked for the New York City Transit Authorities. I don't know who they were getting their advice from, but they were being ill-advised as far as a lot of us are concerned. Anyway, this gentleman who I had the conversation with and subsequently made friends with, he happens to be a retired New York City Transit Authority motorman, or train operator as they're now called. And we were talking about those idiotic MTH couplers on O scale and the couplers that they make for HO. And I was telling him about Bachmann's couplers and how terrific they are, ingenious even. So this is the front of the train. This is what the coupler looks like. So you could marry this. Well, actually, if you wanted to marry this car to another car, you could. But I think typically if I found 4 more cars, I would add them in the center, because this is a power car and the trailing end of the train is also a power car that looks exactly like this. So what I want to do is show you the coupler on the end of this car and the coupler on the end or the beginning end of the next car, which would be the center car. So let me pause the video for a hot second. All right, so this is the end of the power car. And that is the male portion, if you will, of the coupler, which inserts into the female portion on the trailing car. It goes right in like that. I'm not going to hook them up, but it goes, first of all, they're not straight, but it inserts just like that and snaps in place. And, well, you know what? Let me try and get them together so that you can see. All right, so I connected them. I took them off the track to do so. But as you can see, they're very closely coupled. See how it snaps in? And there's a tool that comes with the model that you use to uncouple them with. And that's this tool. If you can see that, this tool. And you take this tool and just put it, let's see if I can do this on camera. Okay. You kind of wedge it right in there to uncouple. See? To uncouple the train, the cars. That's how you uncouple it. Ingenious, Bachmann. Ingenious. Keeps the cars together, solidly together. No problem on curves. No uncoupling. None of that nonsense that's typically experienced with the knuckle couplers. Even with KDs, which are superior couplers, you have that problem sometimes. But not with these. All right, got it back up on the track just to show you how closely coupled they are. Stop it right there. See how closely coupled they are? And again, you use that tool to insert underneath the coupler, and that takes them apart. The tool that I showed previously. Ingenious to me, ingenious. I love my 00 scale sets. My next favorite is my class 350. 350. But this takes the cake for me. This is like my absolute favorite double O scale set. I am so happy that I discovered double O in 2015. And I tell you, the only thing that stopped me from purchasing more sets, at least lately, is the exchange rate between the USD and the British sterling pound. Yeah, it's kind of high. So that's discouraged me, but not for long. I'm going to bite the bullet and get the sets that I really want, like the Class 450, and there's so many that I want. I love the British trains. I mean, they are just cool. They really are. They're cool. But yeah, this London Underground, I wanted to show my friend Robert, who's doing some fantastic work again in HO, as well as in double O, HO and O scale rather. And I wanted to show him how this coupler system worked, and it might be something for him to consider implementing in O-scale subways, because none of us are happy with those idiotic big knuckle couplers that MTA issued with their O-scale New York City subway system sets. No research and development was done into perhaps making a different type of coupler specifically for the New York City subway sets. So maybe Bob could do that and market it himself. I hope so. But anyway, Bob, I just wanted to show you not only the set, but mostly the couplers. And this is the coupler on the tail end. Again, it's the male portion, and then the next car will have the female portion. You insert them, and they're coupled. Easy. So these are absolutely wonderful, and these are a vast improvement over the previous couplers that Bachmann and Hornby and those are the two principal UK double O scale manufacturers. The couplers that they used before, like on my Bachmann Class 221 the Virgin Super Voyager, what a royal pain in the neck is it to couple that setup, including my Hornby Pendolino Class 390. What another nightmare. I typically have to turn them on their roofs, couple them, then put them on the track. It's what a pain in the rear end. But this, when Bachmann came up with this was ingenious. So anyhow, that's it, Bob. I wanted to make this video specifically for you to see. And I'm going to post it on my YouTube channel, so if anyone else is interested, they're more than welcome to it. Yeah, I've got quite a number of European trains I want. The German ICE train, ICE 3. The, OBB, which I think is Austrian. What else? Of course, I eventually will want Japanese HST trains. The Japanese Kato makes some really gorgeous models in HO that unfortunately they're not sold in the US. I have to get them out of Japan. Really, really nice HO scale trains, which you can see on another wonderful YouTube channel. I think it's called Acton, ACTON Railway, I believe it is. And if you check out his videos, you'll see all kinds of gorgeous, gorgeous Japanese model railway cars or sets. So, all right, that's it. I think it's high time for me to go to bed. It's like 5:30 already in the morning. Take care.